Once again, we had a crazy week in college football, which means there were some draft prospects helping their stock, hurting their stock. Welcome to the Stock Report. Let's go ahead, get into the nitty gritty with my first player on the Stock Report in Tyler Warren. How could it be anyone else? The man goes off. He goes off in this game. Going for 17 receptions for 224 yards, a touchdown. Crazy touchdown, by the way. Didn't even notice it in the replay. I had to have someone in the chat point it out to me that, he lined up at center for that touchdown catch. What? He snapped the ball and caught the touchdown? That's insane. But he should have had a passing touchdown in this game, got negated by a penalty, but he had 4 rushing yards. He also had a 9-yard pass, but had a phenomenal game. Coming in at 6'6", 257 pounds. And Tyler Warren was my tight end 3, I think, entering the year because, I projected Oscar Delp to kind of have a breakout year, and that's not been the case for Delp, and I imagine he ends up returning. But Tyler Warren was formerly a 4-star recruit where he played quarterback. I mean, he was recruited as an athlete, but played quarterback in high school. You love to see that. You love to see it. Played basketball, played baseball, multi-sport athlete. And I remember going into my summer scouting with Warren. Based on his analytics, I was like, I don't think I'll love Warren. And then I watched Warren, and then I was like, oh no, I love Tyler Warren because I love the athleticism, man. He accelerates well. Like, he's got the speed to threaten the seams. Even if you're not convinced on his launch speed to be able to pull away from guys, it's fine. He's a tight end. I'm okay with that. The yak ability, hella good. And just versatile. Like, it's kind of become a meme at this point where it's like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Where in the world is Tyler Warren? Is he out wide? Is he in the slot? Is he in line? Is he playing H-back? Is he snapping the freaking football? It's become a meme at this point. He's a legitimate red zone threat. He had, I think, 7 red zone touchdowns last season. He's improved in terms of drops. Like drops last season, he was at 15% this year, far less. If you want to argue for him being the top tight end in this class, I don't think I could argue against it. I truly don't think I could argue against it. He's played that good that you could probably put him ahead of Colston Loveland, because Loveland unfortunately plays for a team that can't pass the football. Also, I think he's missed a couple of games because of injury, but Tyler Warren, he probably was the player of the week in terms of prospects. Next on the list, I got Evan Stewart. We're going to talk about this Ohio State-Oregon game, but Evan Stewart had the best game of his college career. He's small, I get it, coming in at 6 foot, 175 pounds, but he had 7 receptions, 149 yards, had a touchdown. The long reception just absolutely dusted poor Denzel Burke on a little bit of a double move, got Burke to basically stutter enough, to pause enough to where he was like, well, I'm Evan Stewart, and in fact, I accelerate hella well. Because, I mean, that's his game, man. The dude accelerates really well. He's an elite athlete. You go back to high school, man, he was a track athlete where he claimed the Texas 5A long jump title with a silver medal, also in the triple jump. He also had a gold medal among the 4x400 meter relay, had a silver medal in the 4x200 meter relay. So, like, yeah, we're talking about an elite athlete. The route runner is really good with him. Like, at least I think he's getting better. He's learned to tempo his routes. He's using that just smoothness, slickness as an athlete. And I mean, again, we saw it on the long reception there. And like the biggest thing that's working against Evan Stewart is his size, his frame. as he's thin. It's a slender frame, but you saw the play strength. Like, it was a nightmare trying to tackle Evan Stewart. Like, the minute I think Burke touched him, Stewart took him for another 10 yards. It was just utterly insane. The drops have been a big improvement this season for him. So Stewart is a guy that it's like, okay, like, I like his ability to get off the line. Like, it's not to the degree of like Devontae Smith and what made Devontae Smith the first rounder, despite being also slender. But it's pretty darn solid. I really wish we saw Burke actually press him more in this game, but it is what it is. That's what Ryan Day and the coaching staff schemed up, is what it is. But big week for Evan Stewart. But of course, wasn't a big week for Denzel Burke. Burke had a rough go with things. They may have killed any first round hype that he had, and probably firmly puts him in day 2, at least for now. He allowed 8 receptions this game for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. Because fun fact, Tez Johnson dusted him too. Listen, I don't think Ohio State did a good job playing to Burke's strengths in this game. Like, Burke isn't a guy that can play 7 to 10 yards off the football consistently, and if you're not going to have help over the top, like, that's just at the end of the day what happened, man. The help was too late over the top. Dylan Gabriel saw it, and he toasted him. Like, Burke, like, he's not a bad prospect. He's not a bad prospect. Comes in with some good size at 6'1", 193. He's a fast athlete. He is. Oh, then how did Evan Stewart and Tez Johnson freaking toast him? Well, because he could be a little sloppy in transition. He got toasted on these routes because he bit. It was a rough day at the office for Denzel Burke. But listen, I still like Burke. I still think he deserves to be talked about maybe as a top 50, top 64 type of prospect. Like, I still think he's firmly in that second round range. And I think that's fair. But he's not going to be someone you want playing off ball. That's just the stone cold facts. Everybody loves the NFL draft, and I know you want to be familiar with every potential prospect that your team may draft. So I got good news for you. My draft guide is available for purchase. It is good throughout the entire draft cycle, and it updates through the season regularly. You'll get my current evals and rankings on hundreds of different players with player backgrounds and analytics. It also contains combine and pro day numbers, as well as my notes from the Senior and Shrine Bowl. You can purchase it for a one-time payment of $30 on PayPal, Venmo, and now I have the Cash App. Follow the link in the description and be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. That is how I share it with you. So please don't make me hunt down your email. Just don't do it. Anywho, it's a great purchase and it's a great way to support the channel. LT Overton out of Alabama, defensive line, though he's playing majority off the edge, had himself a game against South Carolina. Looked hella good. Coming in at 6'5", 283 pounds. I don't think I've actually talked about him formally on the channel. He wasn't someone I watched during the summer, and I may have mentioned him in last week's mock draft, but he had a big game this week, so I figured, hey, this is a good time to talk about him before I actually get to my midseason edge rankings. But he had 9 pressures, 4 defensive stops, had a win rate of 20%, looking hella good, and he's kind of the guy on the Alabama defensive line because, well, the Alabama defensive line don't look all that good. They just don't look all that good. But Overton is. If you're talking about someone with just tools, he's that guy. He was formerly a Texas A&M, former 5-star recruit, mind you. And things didn't work out at A&M. Jimbo got fired. He comes to Alabama, and he's just got that blend of size and speed, plays powerful, plays with violence. He is just a constant penetrator, constantly creating havoc in the backfield. And with that size, he's got some versatility to him where you could shoot him in at like 3-tech. But the game is raw with him. It really is, man. He doesn't rush with a consistent plan. Like most times, he's out there out-athleting and trying to overpower opposing blockers. And that's not going to work all the time in the NFL. It's just not. So he's someone that's still trying to put that part of his game together. There are times where he's laid off the snap. He's not that disciplined against the run. Like occasionally he loses containment and doesn't keep gap integrity because like he wants to be a penetrator. So sometimes he just gets kind of like lost there in the backfield. And when it comes to leverage, I think he works better with his hand in the dirt. There will be times where he comes in from a 2-point stance and he just doesn't get down. He just plays with a bit of a high pad level, leaves strike zone open for defenders to be able to get in there. But if we're talking about raw ability, raw skills, he's got that tenfold. He's got that tenfold. The dude is hella good. Hella good. Next on the list is Emery Jones. He's an offensive tackle, but I think I'm kind of sold on him being a guard now. I think I am. Coming in at 6'6", 315 pounds. Had a rough day at the office. Like Will Campbell did a great job neutralizing this really good defensive line for Ole Miss. Emery Jones was he was on the struggle bus. He was flagged in this game. He allowed 9 pressures on 56 passing snaps. And I just don't think he's can hang a tackle right now. And if you do think he can, I think he's a bit of a project in that regard. Some of that is just stopping his feet on contact and just letting guys get by him. He doesn't really play with like his head on a swivel and won't entirely catch guys outside of who he's supposed to be blocking or who's in front of him. So now we're talking about someone who's probably limited to like a man blocking scheme potentially. Like I don't know if he's going to be someone that could consistently go out there out on the move and hunt for people. He's just better at, hey, block the guy in front of you. That's kind of what he does. That's his thing. But like there's still a lot to really like about Emery Jones. Don't get me wrong, man. Like I think he's long. I think he's strong. I think he plays with pretty light feet, even though sometimes if he plants those feet at the wrong time. I think the hand usage is actually relatively solid. He does a good job using his hands independently. But part of me is like, he feels more of a project at tackle, and maybe you can start him early on at guard. That's kind of where I'm at with Emery Jones. But I'm going to stick to this game, and I'm going to talk about Garrett Nussmeier. I don't think I've talked about him exclusively on the channel. I may have mentioned him a few times. I didn't get to him in my summer scouting because, well, it's not like he had a lot of tape to pull from. But Garrett Nussmeier has kind of arrived. For the last 2 years, I've been saying LSU has the best backup quarterback in college football because I believed in Garrett Nussmeier. I thought Nussmeier was good when he had to step in and play. And this year, he's looking good. Is it perfect? Hell no. He went 22 for 51 in this game. I mean, granted, average depth of target was like 15 yards down the field. And, to be fair, he needed it. He came up with them big plays. He came up with them. But, that's kind of what I like about, like, Nussmeier. Like, he's a gunslinger. He's got good arm talent. He really does. He can push the ball downfield. You see the anticipation. He's very technically sound. He runs to pass the football so he can extend the play with his feet. But like, he's got some good passes on tape. He truly does, man. Now, under pressure, he was much better this game. And to be fair, LSU actually did a relatively really good job of keeping him clean. But under pressure is kind of where I worry about him. Doesn't always set his feet. At times, he can be too much of that gunslinger, so to speak, and just put the ball in harm's way, throw it. Oh, double coverage, be darned. I don't care. Also, he's a bit smaller, 6'2", 200 pounds. Not terribly small, but he is on the smaller range of the spectrum. But I think he is firmly like a day two, maybe gets himself into the top 50. I don't know about first round yet. He's still got some big matchups left to play, but Nussmeier's looked really good this year. He really has. We're not done with this game, but I'll talk about the other prospect on the other side of the football at the end of the video. Just move on to Jake Briningstool, tight end out of Clemson, who's honestly, this tight end class is kind of good. So he's coming in at 6'6", 240, but he's got ample, like he's got enough room along that frame, ample enough room. There's the wordage I'm looking for to add to that frame. But this is a good tight end class. This is a good tight end class. Like, I think it's going to be, we're going to see the third, fourth, fifth round. We're going to see a lot of guys go. And I think Briningstool could be one of those guys because he's still young. He'll be 22 when he's drafted, when he starts his rookie year. And he's a smooth athlete, like good explosiveness, good lawn speed. You could go to the tape. He's pulling away from defenders, and I'm not talking like safeties, linebackers, but in some cases corners, because he is someone that lines up in the slot quite a bit. He's very sure-handed. He shows good coverage recognition. He's a very versatile blocker, like as a move blocker and whatnot, though you're going to be like with that slender frame, which again has room to put mass on, but can he stick in line is going to be kind of a question. But I think everything's pointed in the right direction for Briningstool. I'm going to try to get to Cade Klubnik this week. I don't know. I'm a little busy this week because I'm going to start pushing out my mid-season rankings. So I might end up waiting to do Klubnik, do him in a couple of weeks after maybe that Louisville game or so. But Briningstool's done a really good job thus far this season. He had a great game against Wake Forest, 7 receptions, 104 yards, had the touchdown. But the tight end class is kind of meaty this year. Next on the list, it's DJ Giddens, running back out of Kansas State. Had a big game against Colorado where he had 25 carries for 181 yards. Also had 2 receptions for 38 yards. He's coming in at 6'1", 212 pounds. And when it comes to like Giddens entering the season, let me read for y'all my eval entering the season. As I was like, light feet, pretty good patience for the most part, extremely strong lower body. That was very apparent against Colorado. He powered through a lot of tackles. He has flashed ability in the passing game, but runs with high pads. Dude runs upright. He's 6'1". It happens. It happens. Taller backs, they're going to run more upright. That's just what happens. We see it with tackles. We see it with defensive linemen. When you're tall, you're gonna run with a bit of a higher pad level. You're gonna run in general, the higher pad level. I felt like he had light feet, but he wasn't like very explosive. Like, he's fast in a straight line, but not that explosive. Like, he's got good speed once he gets going, but he's very much a north-south guy. And this pegs into the thing that I think has gotten so much better about him this year, is his vision. Like, coming into the year, I was like, man, holes really need to be apparent for him. Like, he doesn't do a good job of anticipating running lanes, and he just kind of closes the door to backdoor possibilities. And I feel like he's been so much better at that this year. So much better at that. Shoot, I mean, in this game, he was so much better at that. So, like, Giddens coming alive in a very good running back class, by the way. Just a very good running back class in general. So he might end up getting, like, pushed down the board, but I think he's firmly, like, if you were to tell me Giddens could go in the third round, I'd be like, I believe it. I think probably early day 3 is a little bit more likely, but I get it, man. Hell of a good football player. I'm going to stick with the running back position because I want to talk about Omarion Hampton because he's been playing really good football this year. Haven't got a chance to get to him here on the stock report, but he had a good game against Georgia Tech where he had 18 carries, 170 yards. Did have 4 receptions, only for 12 yards, but coming in at 6'1", 220 pounds. He is a true junior, and in terms of size and power, he's got it. He's got a great build, packs a punch, but golly, he is fast. He is fast. Once he gets going, he's hard to stop. Like, the contact balance is really good. Despite being a taller back, he does run with a high pad level, but when he goes to initiate contact, he does a good job of lowering the shoulder. And I mean, dude, like, the lower body is so thick with him that he just bounces off sometimes. And he's shown real ability in the passing game. Good burst, nimble footwork, but the vision can be inconsistent with him. Like, he wants to be a downhill runner. That's cool. I'm fine with it. I like it. It's improved somewhat this year, but I still would say it's probably the weakest part of his game. But golly, just the combination of size, speed, contact balance. Like, if you want to argue him for like RB2 in this class, because let's be honest, RB1's Ashton Genty. We're talking RB2 at this point. Then I would say, yeah, go for it. Send it. I see it and I believe it. I see it. I believe it. And then the last cat I want to talk about here, going back to the LSU Ole Miss game, is Trey Amos, corner out of Ole Miss, coming in at 6'1", 190 pounds. Had a really good game against LSU where he allowed only 2 receptions on 9 targets, 429 yards, had 2 pass breakups, and an interception. I do briefly want to kind of go over his background because he isn't a player that I've talked about, at least talked about in depth on the channel, as he was formerly a 3-star prospect out of the 2020 class, big track star as a long jumper, won the state championship his senior year, ends up going to Louisiana, where really you didn't start until 2022, where he had 10 starts. Ends up transferring to Alabama last year, where he's stuck behind Kool-Aid McKinstry and Terrion Arnold and Malachi Moore, because Malachi Moore kind of plays that star role. So he was like stuck behind really good players there. But when he did get to start, when he did jump into the rotation, I thought he looked pretty good. Which, when he decided to enter the transfer portal again after Kalen DeBoer got hired, I was like, oh, he's going to be big somewhere. So he ends up going to Ole Miss, and he's been really good this season. He really has. He's got a very long frame. He's big. He's on the bigger side for the position. Huge wingspan, and I mean, 23 career pass breakups is a ludicrous number. But he also uses that length to be a sure tackler. 11.6% missed tackle rate over his career. And he's someone who has played in a variety of different schemes. He has, stemming going back to Louisiana, going to Alabama last year where they were a bit more zone heavy, and even Ole Miss this year as Pete Golden at Ole Miss. He's known for having more of a complex defense, and he applauded Trey Amos this offseason for his ability to quickly pick up everything. And I mean, there was so much coming out of spring and fall camps about Trey Amos, Trey Harris going one-on-one and how it was must-see TV. And that's kind of come to fruition, I think, this season for Amos. The ball skills are great with him, and I love the physicality he plays with. I always talk about, sometimes he can be too handsy, but I always talk about how, hey, when it comes to these physical corners, like, oh, they could get flagged all the time. I'd rather have that corner that has that dog in them and having to teach them to be a little bit more discreet, teaching them to reel back that some, rather than someone who just doesn't have that dog in him to begin with. Because at least Amos got that nature in him. He's got that nature. Really does, man. Like, he's willing to come up, make plays against the run, make plays around the line of scrimmage. He can come up and play press. I feel like he could play in a variety of different schemes. Because like you'll see him play off coverage as well. But I don't think he really has the downhill explosiveness or the quick feet to really play a lot off coverage. I think he's better within 5 yards of the corner. Or of the wide receiver. I really do. He is a bit of a long strider, but he does a good job of staying in the hip pocket of wide receivers. And I mean, he's got the long speed. If you're unfamiliar with parts of his game, if you're unfamiliar with him, go check out his final year at Louisiana in 2022 I think it was the bowl game. Was it the bowl game? I think it was the bowl game where they took on Houston. Him tracking Tank Dell down the field every snap. Freaking phenomenal. Really is. Like, he limited Tank Dell pretty well in that game. But Amos was someone I knew going into the week. I was like, man, I know I'm talking about Nussmeier. I probably want to talk about Emery Jones because he's someone that gets thrown around in the first round, and I just don't think he's there. Just don't think he's there yet. But I know I want to talk about Amos. I really, really do. I'm so happy that I did. But that's it for the video. Let me know what you think. Who are some of the prospects that caught your eye this weekend, whether it was for good or bad reasons? Let me know in the comment section below. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.